Hello, welcome to Lil's Vintage World. So today I'm going to do another one of my history book reviews where I take 3 history books and review them for you. All of these books I was kindly sent from the author, which is Pen and Sword, though thank you very much for publishers for sending me them. Honestly, it feels like Christmas every time I receive some books for review, so thank you very much. So let's get straight into it, shall we? So the first book that I was kindly sent after I requested it, by the way, I did request all these, I wanted all of these. The first one I was sent is Life on the Victorian Stage, Theatrical Gossip by Nell Darby. So the origin of how this book came about is Nell was doing a bit of a research to her family tree, and she found out that her great-grandfather's sisters were actually on the stage, and she found out a bit more information, and so much so that she ended up with this book. This book is split into 3 parts, so we've got business, personal and criminal, and it's a bit like a non-fiction mixed with case studies, if that makes sense. So it's very informative, but yet there's a lot of case studies and individuals to kind of back up what Nell is saying. It's also a bit like a memoir, remembering those on the stage that were at one point in their lives kind of the celebrities of the day, which sadly have been forgotten. I had a few favourite chapters in here. They're all the scandalous ones, so the ones on prostitution, the one on murder and sex and seduction, I think it was called. And yeah, I loved chapters on scandal. Anything scandalous, I'm all over it. They were brilliant. The writing of this book feels quite academic-like. Nell has certainly well researched this book, and you can tell that a lot of time has been spent over it, and it does have this kind of almost academic feel, but it's very much an approachable book. You know, some academic books feel quite dense and heavy. This doesn't feel like that. This is a nice flow, it's very approachable, and it was really enjoyable, and I would recommend this one for anyone who's just like me and a complete history geek and wants to know everything about everything in history, or of course if you're interested in the history of theatre or acting. The next book that I have to share with you is Maids, Wives, Widows, Exploring Early Modern Women's Lives 1540 to 74 by Sarah Reed. Now, I have read and reviewed one by Sarah Reed before and I really enjoyed it, and I was hoping I was going to enjoy this just as much. I think I love it even more. This is so good. So this book is, again, it's split into parts. I've got to read these out. So we have Women and Work, Personal Care, Women and Reproduction, Women and Religion, Women and Public Life. So this is basically everything to do with women of this time period. And how can I describe this book? Just wow. I think this book should be kind of like the how-to book on women of this period. I think if you want to learn about women during this period, during these centuries, this is the book that you need to go to. I think this should be the Holy Grail, the Bible. This should be the encyclopedia, the dictionary, if you will, of women's lives through history. It was brilliant. I found it absolutely fascinating. I loved it. I think the thing is, through history, our bodies haven't really changed that much. You know, we still have periods and we still give birth, you know, relatively the same. And so it's really interesting to see how things that we do in modern culture, how it was done back then. So things like how women would do their hair and makeup for the day, how they would deal with their periods, etc. I found those bits absolutely fascinating. The little nitty-gritty bits of daily life. Love learning about that. Sarah has a fantastic writing style. I feel like this book is made to be a TV documentary series. I feel like it could be done in the 5 parts, and yeah, I feel like it should be on TV because it's fascinating and more people need to learn about this. I hope one day it does become a documentary. For me, I feel like it's a book that I probably have to read about 10 times to get all the information out that I want to, but luckily for me, I enjoyed it that much that I want to do that. I would recommend this book to pretty much everyone that's interested in women's history. This is just, you have to have this book in your collection if you are interested in women's history. Put it that way. And finally, last but certainly not least, I have Women and the Gallows, 1797 to 1837, Unfortunate Wretches by Naomi Clifford. So this book looks at the 131 women that were killed during this date, that were executed during this date. There was 131 of them between those dates, and this book explores these women. This book actually, you open it up and just not even getting to the actual main print, you get to the dedication, and this is part of the dedication, it's just part of it. Dedicated to all people under sentence of death and to the memory of those who have suffered. My aching heart with pity bled when poor Eliza, clothed in white, at Newgate dropped her lovely head and closed her eyes in endless night, which is from a broadside published on the execution of Eliza Fleming in 1815. And it is with Eliza Fleming that this book starts off. So this book is in two sections, personal and property, and we start with the story of Eliza. And Eliza's story is heartbreaking because she is this young teenage girl who is executed for attempted murder when only a little while before there is a case very similar to hers where a young lad gets accused of similar sort of crime and he gets off, whereas she is executed. And you can't help but really feel for her throughout the whole of the book, and to be honest, she is the one that stuck with me. I mean, some of the others and their stories really hit home. There's all different things that you can think of in this book. So it looks at murder, treason, what regarded treason to be executed for that, theft, arson, etc., etc. And now in England we don't have the death penalty. We haven't had it since 1965, and the last woman to be executed was Ruth Ellis in 1955. So we haven't had an execution in a long time. But this book really brings you to the forefront of executions, and it makes you think about all the innocent people that have gone through our capital punishment and, you know, for whatever reason they were executed. But it actually makes you think about the circumstances and actually should they have been executed. And I suppose it's still, you know, if you think about crimes today, we don't have the death penalty, we haven't had the death penalty for years, but other countries do still have the death penalty. America, for instance, in quite a few states there is still the death penalty. And unfortunately, statistic-wise, there are going to be people on there that have certain circumstances or quite simply are innocent of their crimes. And this book really does make you think. This book is so well researched and it's so respectful of these women as well. It's so engaging, so fascinating. This book is a book which I feel should be on the syllabus. Perhaps it's a bit too gory for schools, but certainly when I was doing my degree, this book would have been really helpful. I did a degree in sociology. This would have been brilliant for my, obviously, criminology modules. I actually did my dissertation on the history of crime. I looked at female murderers, so it works out quite well. Also, if you're doing a degree in criminology or history, I think this book would have been absolutely brilliant when I was at university, and I do think it should be on the syllabus, maybe even for A-level or something, because we need to learn where our criminal justice system has come from, and some of these stories are absolutely heartbreaking. If I could, I would get every single one of you to read this because I think it's magnificent. So there we have it. That is 3 book reviews for you. Let me know in the comment section if any of these 3 books have taken your fancy. And if you think, oh, Lil, I want to get my hands on that one, it's linked in the description bar below. So click on the description box and then there'll be the links to these books to the book depository. So click on the links, take you to the book depository, you can check it out further, or you can purchase them if you want to. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. So have you read any of these before, or have any of them sat on your wish list? Are you going to buy any of them? What do you think of them? I'd be fascinated to know. And that's it. That's it for today's video. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give it a big old thumbs up, and I shall see you soon for the next one. Take care.